Another important scientist in the 1800s was Koch, and Koch was someone who identified many causative agents of disease, and he developed a system which we refer to as Koch's postulates of infectious disease. So what was really key here is that he identified a disease, he identified some kind of organism associated with the disease, and then he performed tests to see if that organism actually caused the disease or it was just a coincidence that that organism was associated with a patient who is suffering from the disease. And we have Koch's postulates, which are listed in our, I believe it's in the scan of the book, and I'm going to go through them here. So the first postulate is that the suspected causative agent needs to be in every case of the disease. So, in other words, all patients must have the organism or the virus. And this makes sense because if it is being caused by some organism, then you can't have this illness without that organism. Next, we have that the agent or the organism has to be isolated from the patient. And so this is in part just proving that it is some organism. And this is also important for the next postulate. And so again, this basically means that you can get a sample of the organism or the virus from the patient, and you could grow it in the lab. And then for the next step, you take this organism that you have grown in the lab and introduce it to a healthy host. So oftentimes that's not a human, it would be instead a mouse or another type of model organism that is used in the lab. And again, I'm saying organism or virus, but in the text, they refer to it as the suspected causative agent. But I'm not going to write that here because that would be difficult. And then number 4, you could kind of hypothesize where we're going from number 3. What would we expect to happen if we expose a healthy host to this organism or virus, this suspected causative agent? Well, we would expect this host to become ill. And again, we expect the host to become ill with the same disease that we saw in the patient originally in number 1 here. And so this is a system for identifying an organism or a virus that is causing a disease state, and it's also preventing doctors, researchers from identifying the wrong organism, and it helps to identify the organism that is actually causing the disease as opposed to organisms which are taking advantage of perhaps a lowered or weakened immune system, these advantageous pathogens or infections that normally might not cause disease in a healthy person, but are there because of the other pathogen. And we'll talk more about that in the future.